What's up, guys? It's Steven. This is one of my students' properties right here, Javi. This is a property out here in Chandler, Arizona. Property rents out for about $2,800 a month, and it will make him about $300 to $500 a day on Airbnb, profiting him about $3,000 to $4,000 a month. What's up, guys? How's it going? This is one of my students, Javi. Javier is originally from San Antonio, Texas. He got his first property in Phoenix, Arizona. Started growing from there. We connected just through Instagram. I'll pass it over to Javi, have him introduce himself. I'll ask him a couple questions as far as like what it was like working with me and all of that.
So yeah, what's up, guys? I'm Javi. I'm from San Antonio, Texas. Like Steven said, we met on social media, right? Like TikTok. I've been always in business, but never really did Airbnb until I met Steven. And it's been good. It's been good.
You started, as far as like entrepreneurship, you started it with like ATMs and stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. I first started doing ATM machines back in high school. I did a couple locations first of all, and then I started seeing the money coming in, and I was like, well, this is pretty good. You know, I just have to fill the machines up once, twice, and then visit them again. But then it started to get to an overload of machines, and I was sitting on a whole bunch of liquids. So I was like, man, I should put this money to work. I wasn't too sure what it was like for me to get into something else until I met Steven. That Airbnb is something else.
Yeah, for sure. So for anyone watching that doesn't know, the program that I created is called B&B Syndicate. Not so much of just like a course of just like showing people how to get into what I do, which is rental arbitrage. Sometimes you'll hear is Airbnb arbitrage, or essentially you rent a property from a landlord and then with their permission furnish the home and then list it on Airbnb, making 2 to 4 times the rent and profit. With B&B Syndicate, Javi was one of my students. I've been doing the coaching for like 3 years now. But the program is more of a hands-on, like one-on-one, like mentorship, not so much of just like a, hand you a bunch of videos and never talk to you again. So like before doing B&B Syndicate, you were doing the ATMs and stuff like that. What was like your biggest struggle financially, mentally, or even both?
So I think more it was financially, just because I know that I needed a little bit more liquid than I did to be able to fund the project that I was in. Being with Steven and getting a little bit more knowledge on how to use OPM. And if y'all don't know what OPM is, it's other people's money. Steven actually taught me how to retrieve this money to be able to fund my project and get into this properly. Mentally, it wasn't such a struggle for me because I knew what it was to kind of start the business, kind of take the leap of faith, not be scared, because I knew that there was risk, in business. But if I wanted the results that I wanted, I would have to, take that leap of faith.
Yeah, 100%. And what you're talking about, guys, as far as like OPM, something we do inside of our program is business funding, particularly 0% interest business credit cards. We can technically get people up to 200K. That's not a common occurrence. On average, you get people about 75 to 100,000 in 0% interest business credit cards. And that's 0% from 12 up to like 22 months, but typically 12 to 18 months of 0% interest without having to use a ton of his own cash. That's what he used to not only acquire properties, but set those properties up as far as decor and furnishings and stuff like that. What made you like actually pull the trigger on this? Like what convinced you that this was like real, not just another online like program or course or something like that?
Steven wasn't the first one I saw doing Airbnb. I did have some other peers doing Airbnb, but I knew that Steven was more of my age and more of like kind of what I was looking at doing. It was more of seeing my peers make that money that I wanted to make and seeing them get those results and then being consistent with something at that level of a project that people are trying to do.
Like when you started quite a while ago now, since like you actually started making money pretty quick. And I would say like faster than most people do, and not because of like Airbnb, but like faster just because like you move faster than most people do as far as taking action. And you actually ended up making almost $15,000 in your first literally 30 days. I think it was like $14,800 in your first 30 days. And I'll throw it up in this video too.
Sweet.
After 30 days of launching your first property. So like walk me like a little bit through that process and like how like that made you feel.
The feeling was great because I don't get that with the ATM business. It was directly to what I was looking for. Hitting that 15K mark was just unbelievable. It sparked that it ignited me.
I remember like right away when you got that booking, like you sent me a text and you're like, dude, this Airbnb stuff is freaking awesome. And you're like, fuck Fuck ATMs.
Yeah. No, literally. In little words, yeah, that's exactly what I said. The feeling was great. I think anybody that makes 15K revenue a month is pretty excited about that. It ignited something inside of me, which thought, you know what, I can be making this money and I'm only making this money from one property. I know I can do this with several different properties.
That's 15,000 a month from one property in revenue.
Yes.
After everything, the typical property sits between 50 to 60% profit. That's on average. And I believe this property was doing more than that, because I think your rent on that property was what, 3,000 something a month?
Yeah, 3,000 flat for that property.
Like when I say it's most cases, most properties are 50 to 60% profit. So in like the regular case, he would be making $7,500, $8,000 a month off this one property in profit. In this case, this property only costed him about $3,000 a month in rent, and then this property had a pool as well, so after utilities and stuff like that, he was still profiting over $11,000 in his very first month, which I will say is awesome, but at the same time isn't like typical for every single property either. Obviously, always what we're going to shoot for is the most profitable, but I will say it's not like the average by any means. But I wanted to ask, like, what does your life kind of look like now? Like, what's different as far as like freedom, income, you know, stress level?
Freedom is amazing. You know, I've been jumping back and forth from Texas to Puerto Rico, and able to like take my family out to vacations. I can literally drop the ball right now and just say, hey, if we want to go there, we can go do that. So that sort of financial freedom, that freedom of time to spend with my family has just been great. And Airbnb has given me the option to be able to do that.
I was like, yo, you wanna shoot a video? And you're like, yeah, I'm in Puerto Rico. I just took my whole family on vacation. I was like, that's so awesome.
Yeah. It's been good, and been able to make me more flexible on the things that I do, which also has been good. You said something about stress, and I'd like to point that out. Stress will always be there. No matter what you do, as long as you're living, you will face some stressful times, but just like any other business, that's normal. And it's all about kind of how you put things and how your perspective is on that stress for you to be able to get ahead and fix those things and acquire more properties.
I totally agree with that. Like money can solve obviously your income issues, solve your freedom issues as far as not having time or having to be locked down in a single city or state or whatever it is. It doesn't completely remove stress. Like, I'm sure it's a lot less stressful than having to work a 9 to 5, because you don't have to be anywhere at a certain time. You don't have to
Most definitely.
go to the bathroom. You don't have to ask when to go grab lunch or any of that. But at the same time, like, this is a different kind of stress. It's the stress that like, as far as entrepreneurship, pushes you to want to do more, want to work harder. Because when you're working a job, like, you just show up, do your job for 8 hours a day. There's not really like anything driving you or pushing you to get to the next level. And even if you do get a promotion, it's like 3%. In this case, getting another property could be the difference between him making, if he had just had one property, making $11,000 a month in profit, or $20,000 a month in profit or more for every single property he stacked on top of that. How many properties do you have at the moment, or as far as how many units on Airbnb?
I have 5 doors right now.
Okay, that's pretty sick. What would you say is like as far as your monthly revenue right now?
My best month, I touched 32K for a month. That's my revenue. And then I'm walking away with at least 21, 22 in that general area in profit.
Super profitable. And keep in mind, guys, this allows you to have all the benefit of having real estate without having to have any of the risk of buying real estate or having to use any of the money to put down payments or anything like that. So he's leveraging other people's houses and clearly making over $30,000 and profiting over $20,000 without any personable like risk whatsoever. Because even though he is using business credit doesn't reflect on your personal credit. It doesn't affect your personal finances whatsoever, not your debt to income, not your credit score, not your utilization, none of that. Super like beneficial, whether you have the cash or not to invest in something like this. It allows you to just, you know, start your business and the business essentially be profitable and pay for itself without having to use cash out of your pocket. So another question I wanted to ask you was, what would you say to like people who think getting into this is too risky or maybe too expensive? Did you feel that way at first? What was it that like changed your mind?
I never really thought, you know, it's too expensive because I knew what it would take to invest in a project like this. I think it was more of seeing my peers make the money that I was making. I was like, man, I could get a piece of that cake if I were to just jump on it. So, you know, those thoughts of, oh man, should I jump in it or is it too expensive? You know, it just went right over my head. And mind you, I did all of this with just business credit. I didn't take any money out of my pockets. I managed to do it with my credit cards. I educated myself in that market that I got into. So I was able to pay off my credit cards right away. Being too expensive, or how am I going to be able to do it? If I had the right people guiding me, the right blueprints, I knew that it was going to be super easy for me to do the same thing that my peers were doing.
I totally understand that. And I'm sure it's pretty crazy too, like seeing my social medias, YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is, mostly Instagram. Not only my numbers, because I've been doing it for over half a decade, but seeing like people that I've worked with or my students that are doing 30, 40, even people now they're doing $70,000 a month. Like I'm sure whatever the risk was or whatever risk you had like in your head, like you were like, well, whatever it is, it's probably worth it. Like to get,
yeah, for sure.
What would you like say to someone that's like, that says they're like too busy to start? Because I mean, my opinion, no one's really too busy. When I started, I was active duty military. I was working 90 plus hours a week. So you can't really get more busy than that. Like, how did you make it work with everything else that like you had going on?
Like I tell everybody, I think it's important for everybody to set goals and to kind of see where they want to be in life or what type of lifestyle they want. But I think it was a lot of my sacrifices that I took to be able to jump into this business, because I knew that it was going to take some time. I knew that it was going to take those late nights to, you know, actually grind, put things together, apply for this, apply for that. Most of it was my network, for sure.
The cool part about this too is like, unlike a job, you got to show up every day and put in those hours regardless. No matter how hard you work on Monday, you're still gonna have to work those 8 hours on Tuesday and so on and so forth. Yeah, the cool part about this, and definitely not every business, but at least this business, it does require, I wouldn't say a ton of work on the front end. I would say it's not easy, but it is simple, especially if you have a mentor and like a process that all you have to do is follow. Once a property is set up and you have all your automations and systems and integrations all in place, the business pretty much runs itself. Like it's pretty hands-off. Like me personally, some weeks where I don't even like regard or think about the business like whatsoever. Like it's pretty self-automated and like self-sufficient. Would you agree like with that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the beginning was a little bit of tedious, you know, just learning how to put A and B together, you know. But as soon as, you know, the ball started to roll, I started to see profits come in. It was super easy to just pick up on the next property because it, you know, you already have everything else in place. It's just more about negotiating with the business owner or with the homeowner and getting into that property.
100%. What's the number one thing holding most people back from like success in this particularly? Like, what do you wish someone told you before you started that would have been like, okay, cool, like I can start?
I think stop leaving it for tomorrow. A lot of people say, you know, I'll just leave it for tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow or do it in a couple of hours. It's like, no, bro. You got to get on your horse. You got to start like researching. You got to start asking questions. If you don't ask the right questions, if you're not like talking to other people that are doing the same thing as you, like nobody's really going to help you. I mean, if you find somebody that's going to teach you, like Steven, I take this like super important to whatever I do. It's like, yeah, you can go out there and do the research yourself, but how many trial and errors is going to take you to get to that point? How much money you're going to spend, you know, learning to get to the point that you want to go to when you can, you know, get somebody that's already doing something that you're doing or that you want to do and follow them, you know, learn their ins and outs and learn from their trial and error instead of you learning from that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I remember when you first set up that very first property, and I was living in California, and I even flew out and checked out that property in person, walked around
San Diego. Yeah,
that property was pretty sick. I remember walking through it with you and being like, this is what you need to do, this. And you telling me like conversations you had with like interior designers and like how you're all going to set up the property and stuff like that. So it was super sick process. I continue to keep doing that, like checking out students' properties, flying out, checking out their properties, stuff like that. Something that I love doing. Last question I got for you is like, if someone's like on the fence about working with me or like getting into a mentorship, what do you think they would need to hear like right now? What would you say to them if they were sitting right in front of you and they were like, I'm thinking about working with Steven, or I'm thinking about getting a mentor for this, or I'm thinking about, you know, joining this program to learn about X?
I could simply say, look at my results. Look at what other students that Steven has already taught. Look at their results. It's not just about Steven. You know, you got to do your own research and do your due diligence on the things that you're about to get into. I can say with confidence that Steven did guide me, did teach me, and now I am where I am today, you know, making the money that I am with Airbnb. And it's been good. It's been good. I can't really say anything else other than, you know, it's been smooth process. I learned correctly. Things are consistently changing, but Steven's always up to date with things. Steven eats, sleeps, shits Airbnb. So.
And something that I always tell people too is like, as you see people online like flexing like their results and stuff like that, like it's cool. Like I show my results, of course, but I also show like my students. Like it's cool that I make whatever it is, like whatever someone makes on a monthly basis, yearly basis, whatever it is. Like I've been doing this for half a decade. I would hope at least like I'm pretty good at it. We're averaging about 160K a month in revenue, about 90,000 a month in profit. But more important to that is if like, not even just with me, but like anyone that you're looking into working with, look into like their students, like seeing how their students are profitable. Their Instagram, that's a good spot to look. A lot of people have like highlights, the little bubbles like on their profile where you can see like their students' results. If you look at mine, I have tons of them, like, and my highlights are like full, so I have to make new ones that I have. So a lot of people only have like one, or they have none, or even worse, there's a lot of people just on the online space that they have like their family members that they're like posting for like results and stuff like that. Like you don't want people with students that are like related to them. Like, even if they did do good working with them, like there's no way to like be able to trust that. And something cool like about mine as well is typically like I'll at my students, so you could like go and message them on Instagram if you wanted to.
I've had that a couple times.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like I haven't had anybody that's like, oh, I messaged your student and your student said you were like a piece of shit, or you scanned them or anything like that. So I do the best that I can. I work with people pretty closely. I'm pretty when I say like hands-on, like one-on-one, it is actually that. I don't just like text them or anything like that. Like we're always on calls, Zoom calls, stuff like that. Constantly in contact, making sure that someone gets to whatever their goals are as far as financially every single month. But yeah, guys, this is Javi. Javi's crushing it, killing it. We'll continue to kill it. For sure. And if you want to learn how he did the same, I'll drop a link down below where I have a completely free like program and stuff like that. It shows you like the basics of how all this works, how to get started, how to set up your LLC, stuff like that. Or if you're just like, screw it, like Javi did good, Steven seems like pretty sick dude, then you can also book a call down below. And we can talk about if we're even a good fit for working together, because I don't work with everyone. I'm not someone that's like, hit the button and just buy my program. No. If I think it'd be a good fit, if I think I'd work good with you, if you think you'd work good with me, then cool. Then we can figure out like the best way on working together. So yeah, guys, this was Javi. If y'all liked this conversation, drop a comment down below on what you liked or didn't like, what questions, comments, concerns y'all have. And if y'all enjoyed this, drop a like, subscribe, and y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Steven.